is a nationwide crisis reaching epidemic proportions. The number of vaping-related illnesses across the country has now reached 1,888 cases. That's according to the CDC, and 37 deaths.
News 8's Richard Allen is live at the County Health Department in Kearney Mesa tonight with more on how this public health crisis has impacted San Diego, including our schools. Richard?
And Barbara Lee and Marcella, local and federal authorities joined forces today to shed light on this emerging public health threat of marijuana or THC vaping. Now, as the DEA is working hard to combat this on the legal front, health officials here in the county and with the CDC are sounding the alarm, urging everyone to stop e-cigarette and THC vaping until the exact cause of these illnesses is finally determined.
Cases have continued to increase each week.
The vaping crisis has no end in sight throughout the nation, including here at home.
There have been 31 cases so far in the county of San Diego.
County Public Health Officer Dr. Wilma Wooten says of those 31 hospitalizations for vaping-related lung illnesses, patients have ranged in age from 17 to 70. 58% of them have been men. And while so far there have been no local deaths, throughout the country, 37 people have died as a result of using e-cigarettes or vaping products, according to the CDC, including 3 fatalities in California.
What we've seen is unsafe, unsanitary conditions.
DEA Special Agent Colin Ruane says that just in the past 12 months, the feds have raided 30 illicit THC extraction labs. He also warns that THC vaping cartridges containing toxic chemicals like butane, hexane, and ether are not regulated.
There's no quality control. There's no uniform testing of these vape cartridges to see what's in them. So they're filled with contaminants that the users don't even know are in them.
Also unknown, what exactly is causing these vaping-related illnesses?
That's why we are asking the general public, if they are vaping, to refrain from doing so until the CDC's investigation is completed.
Within the last 4 years, we've really seen it epidemic proportions in our local schools.
E-cigarettes containing nicotine have risen in popularity among youth as well, creating a parallel public health concern.
Vaping is an issue in every school, and it's starting younger and younger.
Also, a new report released by Sandag earlier today revealed that vaping has risen among those who have been arrested here in San Diego County. Now, that increased from 53% of adults back in 2017 to 61% last year. Now, among juveniles caught up in the juvenile justice system, it spiked from 66% to 70%. Now, if you'd like to take a look at the entire Sandag report, just go to the cwsandiego.com and click on the hot button. Marcella?
All right, Richard, thanks.